Hello and welcome to the DiLive podcast. Today we are going to be talking about burnout. Now, I'm sure you're not a stranger to it. I know I'm not, and I've been in places in my life where I definitely was in that position, feeling burnt out, run down, overwhelmed. So how do we deal with it? And so the first place to start is to look at what is the mindset that we have adopted that has led us to the place of being burnt out physically and mentally. And the beginning part of burnout, way back, is us feeling like we need to do more. Because burnout is always a result of us packing so much into our day that you couldn't physically get all this done. I was like that. I remember looking at my paper diary back then, and I had so many things listed in there. There were not even enough timelines to write it on. So how on earth I thought I would get it all done, I have no idea. Now I'm in a digital calendar and I plan my days out. And even then, there's a temptation to put so much into our day. Where does that come from? Well, the mindset, the thought that I need to do more. And if we trace that back, I do more because that means I am more, I'm worth more, I'm more worthy. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in an age where if you weren't working hard, then you weren't worthy. If you'd had a really full-on day and you're exhausted, well, then you've done a good day's work. That was the thought. So I would like to introduce the idea to you, the idea of planning your days out. That's the very beginning, to say, what do I want to do today? Not what do I feel I have to do? What do I feel I want to do? And when I'm working with clients, I take them through their week. What do you want your Monday to look like? Your Tuesday, your Wednesday? And plan out those blocks of time. And it's great with our online calendars now, we can do that. And when you put those events in your calendar, and as I move through my day, I plan my week. And then as I move through each day, I move the blocks of time where I've said, I'll do this. Like if I have a meeting and it goes half an hour longer, I'll add a little block afterwards to say that's what I did with that half hour. So by the end of the day, I can look at my day and I see what I've done and it feels so good. Now some things don't get done, I'll move them across to the next day and rearrange. And it feels, like I'm in control of my day. And I'm not in a state of overwhelm because everything I've popped in there has its own time slot. And I can easily see that if I have more to do than I have hours in the day, then I have a decision to make, rather than just saying, I'm going to do it all, knowing in my mind it's not achievable. That is a self-perpetuating doom cycle, to set myself more than I know I have the hours for. I don't get it done. I feel like a failure, and then I am tempted to do more to feel more worthy. So you can see where that cycle comes from. And the overwhelm is when that's chronically happening, and we've been doing it for so long, and we can feel so unworthy and so like a failure, and everything is piling on top of us. That is just a cycle of going down. The way to interrupt it is, like I said, to sit down and decide, what do I want my days to look like? What do I feel I want to do? Not what I have to do. That would be the first sorting process. What are the things I'm feeling I have to do? What do I desire to do? And again, if you want help with that, please click on the link in the description, because I'm only too happy to help guide you through that process. The biggest problem that I see with burnout, and that I have experienced myself with burnout, is that it keeps us in this cycle, like I said, which is like a whirlpool of a downward spiral. And while we're kept in that, we have no space in our mind or in our heart. Like we can't even think about what we do want. You know, when I just said to you, we can start sorting out what you feel like you'd like to do and what you feel like you don't want to do, your mind probably already is going, but I have to do this. And while we stay in that, there's no space for us to think or feel about what we really do want to do? What are the desires of our heart? And the worst part about that is we will never step out of that if we just let that continue. And I know that you have dreams, desires, aspirations of things that you want to do, be, create. And while we stay in that whirlpool, that treadmill of doing, and never accomplishing all that we've set out to do, we will never get to that place where the desires of your heart are fulfilled. You might be like I was, and many people that I meet, where the things they really want to do are on their, I'll do that when I've done this. I just have to get this done, then I'll do that. And that then never comes, because we are living in a state of overwhelm. And yeah, like I said, it's such a shame, because there's more in you looking to be expressed and lived, and overwhelm is not the place to do that. And so to begin recovering from burnout, and think about that. If you're recovering from anything physical, you've had a cold or the flu or an operation, and you're recovering from it, what do you do in recovery? You stop. You stop what you would normally be doing, and that's the first step in recovering from burnout too, is to stop. A lot of us, and I was one of them, we go and go and go until we fall over and just everything crashes. But I would encourage you that if you're feeling like you're even in the slightest bit overwhelmed, heading towards burnout, that's the time to just put it all down and stop. That's the first step to recovering from burnout. And from there, it's like cleaning out a busy room. Have you ever had that spare room where you just put all the stuff? And when you come to clean it out, you've got to get it all out, and then you decide what goes back in. And it's very similar with recovering from burnout. You're going to stop and then decide what goes back in. Now, there's a head set around that. There's a mindset around that. Are you of the mindset that you can have what you want, that you can live a life that you love and enjoy your days, live in joy throughout your days? Did you know that's the very purpose of the life in us? The life in us, that power that you have to express, that is there for you to enjoy and to produce things that others can enjoy too. And so that adjustment into our mindset needs to happen before we then go and bring back in what we believe is necessary or wanted or desired in our life. Otherwise, we will end up again with a room or a calendar full of things that we feel we should do. So I encourage you to understand your desires are indicative of the direction that you should go in. My desire equals my direction. It is your guiding light. It is showing you the way as to what belongs in your life and what doesn't. Once we've recovered and we feel like, okay, things are tidy, the room looks tidy, the calendar's tidy, how do we prevent getting back into that state or that situation? And again, as everything in life, we want to develop healthy habits around burnout. And in fact, I would get rid of the word burnout, toss that out altogether. Healthy habits around managing not our time, because time's just ticking by, that can't be managed, but our tasks. So the things that I'm filling my day with, how do I set healthy habits around managing that? And the first thing that I want you to begin to entertain is like I said, your desire is your direction. Your feeling is going to give you very good feedback. Your feeling is feedback. Now, I speak to many, many women who work, have families, interests outside of work, and they say, I hate cleaning my house, but I have to do this. I have to clean my house. This is a simple example of something that you think, you know what, if that doesn't bring you joy, investigate having someone clean your house for you. Now, you might be up in arms already going, but I can't afford that. Let's just investigate the idea. I worked with a woman once who cleaning her house was bringing her down big time. One event in her weekly calendar, and it was not causing her any joy and a lot of grief. When we actually started looking into a cleaner, she came back so happy. She said, I didn't even realize that you could get a cleaner for that much. And it just lifted a burden off her that was unbelievably heavy. And now she was good to go. So she'd formed a habit now of thinking, I don't have to clean my house. Someone else can do that. And that's okay. So really start to understand that your feeling is going to show you what is for you and what's not for you. Just start entertaining the idea that that can be a habit that saves you from going back down the road of burnout. Another tip or trick around habits forming to help us not to be heading towards burnout is notice when your conversation is filled with words such as try. I'm going to try and do this. I don't know about you, but I've had things in the past in my calendar where it's, I'm going to do this, and it would have been in my head, I'm going to try to do this, and it was in my calendar, and it kept getting moved and moved and moved, and I had some things in there for years that I was going to try and do. Clearly, I had no desire to do them, otherwise I would have. And when I removed them from my calendar, again, I felt so free. So notice, get into the habit of noticing, listening to your inner conversation and the conversation you have with others. And if there's something repeating itself, like I'm going to try, then have a little meeting with that little item and see if that's something you really want. How do you feel about it? The other word is should. Back to the woman cleaning her house. I should clean my house. I was always under the belief I should wash the dishes, not have a dishwasher in my early mothering years. And that was a belief I'd been handed down. So form the habit of sifting and sorting through your own thoughts and yes, beliefs, and they'll show up in that way of I should do this. How do you feel about that? Do you want to do that? Or is it something you feel you have to do? So there's some habits that you can form to keep your space clear and enjoy your days. So thank you for listening, and please do click on that link if you would like to chat about your situation, your unique situation, and if you've got some clearing up to do, then I'd be only too happy to talk with you about that.